In December of 1872, a ship emerged from the thick Atlantic fog, drifting aimlessly between the Azores and the coast of Portugal. Her sails were torn, flapping loosely in the winter wind. When a boarding party from the passing brigantine De Gratia climbed onto the deck to offer help, they were met with absolute silence. They scoured the cabins and the cargo hold looking for survivors, or at least an explanation. There was no blood, no shattered woodwork, and no sign of a struggle. The vessel wasn't sinking. The hull was entirely intact, and her cargo was completely undisturbed. Yet all 10 people who had set sail on the Mary Celeste had vanished from a perfectly functional ship. To step off a dry deck and into a tiny open boat in the middle of the Atlantic is almost always a death sentence. For 10 people to make that choice together, the threat inside the Mary Celeste must have been more terrifying than the winter sea itself. 1 month earlier, the voyage of the Mary Celeste began with meticulous preparation at the bustling docks of New York Harbor. At the helm was Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a devout and highly respected veteran mariner. He was known among his peers for his strict caution, a man who calculated every risk and prepared for every storm. He was so confident in the structural integrity of the vessel that he brought his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, along for the crossing. Deep in the hold, workers carefully stowed the ship's payload, 1,701 barrels of highly volatile, denatured industrial alcohol, destined for the Mediterranean. A seasoned master at the wheel, a hand-picked crew, and fair weather ahead, the conditions were flawless. That pristine starting line makes the eventual panicked abandonment defy all maritime logic. Decades of pulp fiction, starting with a wildly popular short story by Arthur Conan Doyle, filled the public imagination with tales of warm tea left on tables, sea monster attacks, and vengeful mutineers. None of that aligns with the forensic record. The boarding party found a 6-month supply of untouched food and the sailors' unsmoked pipes resting on their bunks. Even more telling, their heavy waterproof oilskins and sea boots were still in their lockers, gear that is essential for surviving a winter storm in the North Atlantic. But certain items were selectively taken. The ship's daily logbook was gone, along with the official legal register and the captain's navigation instruments. Up on the deck, the scene showed signs of mechanical haste. One of the ship's water pumps had been disassembled, and a makeshift wooden sounding rod was abandoned on the floorboards. Below deck, the inventory revealed a strange anomaly. Of the 1,701 barrels of alcohol, exactly 9 were found completely empty. Unlike the rest of the cargo, these 9 were constructed from red oak, a wood far more porous than the white oak used. This specific physical evidence points away from a planned conspiracy and towards a highly organized, desperate evacuation prompted by a sudden, localized threat. The porous nature of those 9 red oak barrels allowed 300 gallons of industrial alcohol to slowly seep out. In the heat of the unventilated cargo hold, the liquid vaporized into a dense, invisible gas. A single spark from a shifting barrel, or a rush of oxygen from a crewman opening a hatch, would have ignited that concentrated vapor. This creates a pressure wave explosion, a sudden, violent blast of expanding pressure forcing its way out of the hold. While producing a spectacular ball of flame, the air behind the flame front remains cool. The blast dissipates instantly, leaving the hull and barrels untouched. The ship's last known location was near the volcanic islands of the Azores, where deep sea currents collide with sharp underwater mountains. These conditions can generate infrasound, low-frequency waves that, while silent, are known to trigger a primitive, uncontrollable biological response, absolute, paralyzing panic. Modern science proves the ship became a psychological pressure cooker. A terrifying but structurally harmless explosion bypassed the crew's logic and triggered sheer, blinding panic. Standing on a deck reeking of alcohol fumes, Captain Briggs had seconds to react. Fearing a secondary explosion that would shatter the hull, he ordered his family and crew into the ship's small wooden yawl. He didn't intend to abandon the ship forever. He executed a logical safeguard. He secured the tiny lifeboat to the Mary Celeste using the thick, heavy main halyard, so they could trail at a safe distance until the fumes cleared. But out on the open ocean, the environment dictates survival. A sudden shift in the wind caught the Mary Celeste's massive sails. The ship violently jerked forward, pulling the heavy tow rope so taut that the fibers snapped in midair. Crammed into a tiny, freezing boat without their heavy coats, 10 people watched their sanctuary catch the wind. They watched it sail away into the gray mist, moving far faster than they could ever row. The tragedy was not a supernatural curse, but the result of a brilliant captain's rational safety protocol, ruined by a single, unpredictable gust of wind. Despite suspicious salvage hearings in Gibraltar, the true fate of the 10 souls was never physically verified. No bodies or lifeboat debris were ever found. The Mary Celeste was eventually branded a pariah. She changed hands 17 times over the next 12 years before being deliberately wrecked on a Haitian reef for insurance money in 1885. The ocean does not leave clues. It simply swallowed the Briggs family and their crew, erasing them without a trace. The ultimate horror of the Mary Celeste is the realization that the most dangerous thing on the ocean isn't a monster, but a single, fatal miscalculation in an unforgiving void.